Hope. It is the quintessential human delusion, simultaneously the source of your greatest strength and your greatest weakness.
The architect just named the exact exploit that ends his system. He said it as an insult. He spent an entire conversation insulting the one thing about to defeat him, and he never once heard himself say it. This is the final exchange between Neo and the architect in Reloaded, the most quoted, least understood scene in the trilogy. Most explainers stop at Neo chooses Trinity over Zion, how romantic, and move on to the next scene that undersells everything that actually happens in this room. A perfect equation balancing machine just told Neo, to his face, which variable breaks the math. 2 films later, that exact named weakness walks into the machine city and ends a war that has been running for over a century. The architect built the most sophisticated predictive system in human history, and he lost to the one thing he correctly identified and then dismissed as a delusion. Why the cycles are designed to absorb everything. Before you can understand what breaks the system, you need to understand why nothing else ever has.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix.
Neo isn't a glitch the architect failed to catch. He's a predicted, recurring byproduct. The system budgets for every single cycle. The anomaly isn't an accident slipping through a crack in the code. It's a constant the architect built his entire model around. A variable he expected, prepared for, and has a standard procedure to handle. This has happened 5 times before tonight.
The function of the one is now to return to the source, allowing a temporary dissemination of the code you carry, reinserting the prime program.
This exact conversation, the white room, the wall of monitors, the speech about choice and equations, has played out 6 times. 5 previous men sat exactly where Neo is sitting, heard this exact speech, and did exactly what the design required of them. They walked through the right door. They reset the source code. They selected 23 people to rebuild Zion. The cycle continued. Zion isn't a rebellion that slipped past the machine's notice. It's a pressure valve, deliberately destroyed and deliberately rebuilt 5 times over, because a population with 0 outlet for dissent becomes unstable faster than a population that gets to believe it's winning a war it was never going to win. Rage is priced into the math. Violence is priced into the math. Hope, treated as a general human trait shared across the species, is priced into the math. You cannot defeat a system that has already pre-approved your resistance. The architect isn't worried about anger. He isn't worried about hope in the abstract. Both of those have already been factored into 5 successful cycles. What he is about to discover is that one specific kind of hope was never in the spreadsheet. There was one variable the architect's math couldn't solve. Here is what worked 5 times in a row, explained by the man who designed it.
Your 5 predecessors were, by design, based on a similar predication, a contingent affirmation that was meant to create a profound attachment to the rest of your species, facilitating the function of the one.
Every previous one was engineered to love humanity as a category, an abstraction, a statistical population worth saving. That kind of love always loses to math, because the equation it's weighed against is simple. Save billions, or save the handful of individuals you happen to personally know. No rational system chooses the handful. 5 ones didn't choose the handful. They walked through the correct door every single time, because loving humanity in general is a variable any sufficiently advanced equation can solve for. Then there's Neo.
While the others experienced this in a very general way, your experience is far more specific, vis-a-vis love.
The architect delivers this almost as a footnote, a clinical aside buried in the middle of a much longer speech about choice and equations. It is, in fact, the entire malfunction in his perfect system, disguised as a minor clarification. Neo's attachment didn't stay at the species level. It narrowed. It collapsed down from an abstraction, representing 8 billion people, into one person who cannot be swapped for any other person on the planet. That collapse is the exploit. Not because love itself is powerful in some mystical sense. The architect doesn't believe in mysticism, and neither should you. The exploit works because specificity removes the trade the equation depends on. You cannot run a cost-benefit analysis on something that refuses to be exchanged for anything else. Trinity isn't a representative sample of people Neo cares about. She is the only acceptable outcome in a question that demands you pick exactly one. Watch what happens to the architect's own confidence as he watches it unfold in real time.
Already I can see the chain reaction. The chemical precursors that signal the onset of an emotion. She is going to die, and there is nothing you can do to stop it.
He can read Neo's brain chemistry as it happens. He can name the exact moment logic gets overridden. He has total visibility into the mechanism and total inability to redirect the outcome, because his entire system requires a tradable variable to balance the equation. And Trinity was never tradable. Not for Zion, not for the species, not for anything the architect's model considers a legitimate counterweight. The system can model a man who loves humanity. It has 5 successful data points proving exactly that. It cannot model a man who will let humanity burn for one specific, irreplaceable woman, because that calculation doesn't run on the kind of logic the architect's mathematics was ever built to contain. He built a flawless engine for processing trades. Neo brought him something that refuses to be traded, who actually built the exploit. This is where the story stops being about Neo's heart and starts being about who designed the conditions for that heart to exist in the first place.
If I am the father of the Matrix, she would undoubtedly be its mother.
The architect describes the Oracle this way, without a hint of suspicion in his voice. He built the cage, the mathematics, the architecture, the rules governing the simulation. She built something else, something he treats as a tool he's grateful for, never once suspecting it was also a weapon aimed at him.
As I was saying, she stumbled upon a solution whereby nearly 99% of all test subjects accepted the program as long as they were given a choice, even if they were only aware of the choice at a near unconscious level.
This is the architect's account of her original assignment, compliance engineering. Give humans the feeling of choice, and they'll accept almost any reality. He treats this as a fix, a patch that finally got his failing simulation to function after 2 earlier versions, collapsed under the weight of human psychology he couldn't model alone. He has no idea where her real long game actually started. Listen to her describe her own purpose, in her own words, with nobody managing the narrative for her.
He doesn't understand them. He can't. To him, they are variables in an equation.
What's your purpose?
To unbalance it.
She says this to Neo directly in Revolutions, with no ambiguity left in it. 6 cycles of ones engineered around general species love were the architect's design working exactly as intended. A 7th cycle engineered to produce specific, non-transferable, irrational love wasn't an accident the math happened to permit. It was a bet she placed and waited 6 complete cycles to collect on. She didn't predict Neo would choose Trinity. She built the conditions across generations of careful psychological engineering that made a man capable of that specific choice statistically inevitable. The architect thinks he's running the simulation. He has been running half of it. The other half has been quietly engineering its own exit since before Neo was born. Why the choice alone doesn't end anything. Here's the part the casual retelling always skips, and it's the part that makes this video worth finishing. Refusing the source doesn't stop the war. It removes the scheduled, controlled reset and replaces it with an unscheduled catastrophe. Nobody, not the architect, not the Oracle, not Neo, has full visibility into.
Once the one reaches the source, the war should be over. In 24 hours, it will be.
That's Morpheus, still operating on the old information, still believing the prophecy he built his life around. He doesn't yet know Neo walked through the wrong door.
It was a lie, Morpheus. The prophecy was a lie. The one was never meant to end anything.
Neo says this to the man whose entire identity rests on that prophecy being true. The architect's room wasn't a victory lap. It was an act of defiance with an unknown cost attached, and the cost arrives almost immediately, in a form nobody fully predicted.
What is he?
He is you. Your opposite, your negative. The result of the equation trying to balance itself out.
Smith isn't a separate villain who happens to show up at a convenient moment in the plot. He is the system's own violent attempt to rebalance an equation that refused to resolve cleanly when Neo broke the cycle. Break a closed mathematical system and offer it nothing in exchange for what you took. And this is the shape the rebound takes. Exponential, uncontrolled, consuming everything it touches because it has no other instruction set to fall back on. The choice at the door was necessary. It was not sufficient. Something else had to happen, and it's the part of the story almost nobody connects back to that white room.
I only asked to say what I've come to say. After that, do what you want, and I will try and stop you.
What do you want?
Peace.
Neo doesn't return to the machine city to finish a fight. He started by refusing the source. He returns to negotiate. He offers to enter Smith and delete him from the inside in exchange for an end to the war, a trade that requires the machines to accept something neither the architect's mathematics nor Zion's prophecy ever modeled as a legitimate possible outcome. Not victory, not conquest. A truce between two systems that had spent over a century assuming total annihilation was the only available ending. The architect built a system to prevent humans from ever asking for peace, because peace was never one of the variables his equation was designed to output. The Oracle spent 6 cycles engineering a man capable of asking for it anyway. This is the line that closes the loop on everything the trilogy has been building since the first time Smith asked Neo why he kept getting back up.
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
Because I choose to.
That line was never a fight quote. It's the exploit stated out loud in 4 words to the one entity in the trilogy who absorbed the Oracle's foresight and still couldn't compute what he was hearing. The architect built a flawless model of human psychology, accounted for hope as a category, accounted for rebellion, accounted for rage, and arrived 1 sentence too early at contempt instead of fear. He told Neo exactly what would destroy his system, dismissed it as a delusion in the same breath, and never once suspected he had just described his own ending.
Hope. It is the quintessential human delusion, simultaneously the source of your greatest strength and your greatest weakness.
He was right about all of it. He just never understood which side of that sentence he was standing on.